G'day, legends. Welcome to the Celtic Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me tonight, as usual, is Shane. How are you, Shane?
Not too bad, thanks, mate. Always good to be with you. How are you doing?
Had a bit of a laugh when we got online tonight. I was like, oh, look at us. We're both twinning in our Celtic Down Under hoodies, available at CelticDownUnder.com. There you go. Nice little plug to start the show off. We got t-shirts, we got hoodies. I'm going to do a few other t-shirts, put them up there soon, so keep an eye out. Just got to figure that out. But yeah, we're freezing our tits off down here in Melbourne, I think is the easiest way. It's cold enough to freeze the balls off a brass monkey. There you go. It's a bit chilly down this neck of the woods. So, yeah, other than that, living the dream. So what's been going on, Shane?
Well, I thought I'd scrub up a little bit and get rid of the beard. Got to look my best when we're going to talk about that 5-star performance overnight.
Who's looking their best?
That who indeed, right?
Oh, we'll start it there. I have to. So the funniest thing was on Twitter before the game, right? Celtic put up his post, and it was like, I'm just trying to go to it now, but they put up a picture, all these pictures of the of our players and all this sort of stuff, right? Pre-game, and there was a picture of Sean Maloney as they're getting ready to walk in the stadium, right? And I pissed myself laughing looking at the pictures, right? Everything I see of he just looks like he's living his best life. It's the easiest way to sum him up. Like, yeah, he's just like, you've got the guys here. So the boys have arrived at Rugby Park, and there's like Sean's walking with a big like frown sort of thing on his face, looking a bit unsure. Alistair Johnson's just like, smiling, dimples, or, trying to look cute as always. Austin Trusty's just like staring like, aim to like, get that camera out of my face, giving the side eye. But the best one, and I'll get my phone up, I don't know if the camera will pick it up. Get a load of you. Not a care in the world, living his best life. Thumbs up, hat on, hair flowing everywhere. And I'm like, saw that and I'm like, yep, he's on tonight. He's back playing on plastic. Completely forgot Killie was no longer a plastic pitch. So I saw that and I'm like, he's banging in a couple tonight. And here we go. So, Celtic 5, Killie 1. Absolutely brilliant result. What was your thoughts going into the game, Shane?
Well, after the game against Dundee, I was curious to see how we were going to front up, and obviously we were pretty. What's the right word against Dundee? Underwhelming, probably is the best way to describe it. I was interested to see whether it was going to be more of the same, but obviously we probably knew during the week that Martin wasn't going to be on the touchline, and obviously we hope he's well and hope to see him back on the touchline soon. But it was more than likely going to be Sean, taking charge. And I was just a little bit curious as to whether we were going to see anything different, whether Sean was going to try and just do things a little bit different to the way Martin would. So I was obviously a little bit curious in relation to that. Also keen to see how we went on the grass pitch at Rugby Park as well. So you've already touched on that, and I was keen to see how the game unfolded with that and not playing on the plastic for once.
The thing with what you said about Sean comparing him to Martin that was another thing. Yeah, I was thinking that as well. But it's a bit of a strange one, right? Because if the rumours are true, Martin's only at Celtic Park or at Lennoxtown like 3 days a week plus match days, right? So he's not there all the time. So the day in, day out training is run by Sean. This is what I've heard, right? So if it's correct, which I strongly believe it is, I was coming in just going, if the players are trained up a certain way most of the week, but then Martin's wanting them to play a bit more direct, usually, it was going to be interesting to see how we played. Do we play more of that horseshoe got no clue, as Ian refers to it, or do we go more direct Martin style? And I thought yesterday's game was the perfect balance of the two. It reminded me a lot of, Martin's first stint when he came in after Brendan left. And it reminded me a lot of that. The wingers were actually out there doing things on the wing, cutting in and shooting or going wide for crosses. There was like none of this caught in no man's land thing waiting for guys to overlap. So, yeah, I just thought it seemed like a good combination of the two. It's probably the way I would sum it up.
Yeah, I think we saw sort of a mixture of both worlds and the best of both worlds as well. When we did go long and direct, we were picking up those second balls and putting them under pressure, but we could play through the middle as well. In particular, the likes of Engels and Kelmack were superb. For me, what that first half, and in particular the press and intensity reminded me of, was Ange and Ange's time at the club. In fact, it's probably the most Ange-like performance I've seen since he departed. That first half, we were just imperious when we were pressing.
The funny thing is, you say that, and when Ange was at the club and we run into Bodo Glimt, right, and they were just like a bit further along under Kettle Knutson into how they play that press, and we're like, that's what we need to do, build on that system year on year. And then we went back to bringing Brendan in and the horseshoe and went away from that. So the fact is that we're able to turn it straight back onto that sort of system. And when we're playing that high press and getting after it, it was funny for me looking at it going, okay, that was one of the best games in the midfield I think Kelmack's played in the best part of 12, 18 months. And then you look at some of the other guys out there, like Big Who, got to train myself to say his name properly, Big Casper. Well, if anyone's going to, we lose Dazen, who was like, or Kyogo, those two were our anchormen in terms of the press and how to trigger things. Well, you have a look at who we brought in and how's he been playing lately? How's Casper been playing? Under Kettle Knutson in that pressing thing. So even though he's a big body, proper number 9, he's used to playing that pressing game. And yeah, it actually made a lot of sense. I enjoyed watching that. It brought back some memories. It's making football fun again.
That was a really good performance to sit down and watch. And I know things have been a mixed bag for quite a while under Celtic, and it's been at times very difficult to watch as we do make things difficult sometimes. That was a really enjoyable performance to watch. Credit, I guess, to a degree to Killie. They, even after going 1 and 2 down, they still tried to play their way. They didn't sit back. They didn't get numbers behind the ball. It was to their detriment, don't get me wrong. But then I think a lot of the mistakes they made were actually from the press and what we did early on, and it just made them, that perceived pressure was really big for them. Obviously, that was pretty big for the goal that their keeper gave up that Negron scored from in the second half, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But I think the point about Kelmack's really good. I can't remember the last time he had a game. He's always industrious, but I can't remember the last time he had such an impact on a game like he did yesterday. He ran the show. That was back to Kelmack of old.
Giving credit where it's due, there's a lot of players we can dive into. So we'll just talk about that. Then we'll talk about the goals. I watched the game in the most ridiculous way possible, right? So I didn't see the game live. Okay, I'm honestly putting my hand up. Worst time, had to be up stupid early to go to work. So it didn't make sense to try and watch a game and then sleep for an hour and a half and then get up for work. So I was like, forget this, I'll watch it. So I watched the first half on the train on the way to work this morning. And I watched the second half at lunchtime today. So, yeah, having known the result already, it made it a bit easier for me. But, yeah, it was one of those ones where I just thought, in general, it wasn't just Kelmack. Like, Kelmack in the middle was great, but that was like an Arnie Engels in Europe sort of game. Funny that the scouts were in the stand from West Ham for that game, so you wonder why he played so well. Duran's looking more comfortable out on that wing, even though he's not a natural winger. I would love to see like a 3-5-2 sort of thing with a partnership up the front. And you could even have Duran and Who up front together and then have Nigren playing off him in a 10. Because seeing Nigren and seeing Who together, those two are starting to link up well as well. So you could do something like that. I think that would be unreal, but yeah, I thought Duran played well out on the wing. The Yang Gang was representing. If he keeps this up, he's improving again another season. So, yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. It's just, I think having someone who played on the wing in Maloney in your coaching staff is going to help someone like Yang in the same way having Harry Kuehl at the club under Ange help Dazen and Jota and Abada and those guys back in the day.
What I loved about Yang's game was the fact that he did a lot of the hard work, and even late into the second half, he was tracking back to make sure he could win the ball back. He did a lot of the hard work that you'd sort of attribute to sort of Dyson, in and his, when he was at his prime. So I thought he was great. And Duran, I echo your sentiments on, and what he looked really good at, which is what you talked about a few weeks ago on the pod, was yes, playing out wide but cutting inside. That Edouard role where you start out wide but cut inside and play a bit more centrally. That's where he looked great. He obviously put on a wonderful cross for Hogh's third goal. But yeah, he cut inside a couple of times. I think he hit the bar twice. He could have easily had a brace himself. He looks fantastic.
The funny thing is, Shane, like, funny/scary for our opponents, if he comes back and hits the levels that he had back in the day in Jota when he returns, right? Look at this lineup where you have Duran playing right, inverting in, coming onto his left foot for those shots where he hit the bar a couple of times. You finally have Jota playing on the left where he can come in onto his right foot, which he always wanted to do, but he always had Dazen out there, so he got put to the other wing under Ange. So you could have Jota on the left coming in on his right. Then you've got your fullbacks in AJ and Tierney who can overlap if need be. But then they can also hold, and those two can go wide and put crosses in, as you saw with Duran's cross. And then you've got Big Casper in the middle. Woohoo, that's some tasty shit up front, I'll tell you that.
And then you got Negrin sort of trailing in, playing as that 10, almost second striker.
Scraps.
Exactly right, which is what he's so good at. And credit to him. He's maligned. I've been critical of him. He was fantastic yesterday. He looked really good, sort of just playing off Hogh and linking up with Hogh really well.
Yeah, so first half, Shane, do you want to give a little rundown on that?
Yeah, just out of the blocks really early. Well, we're pressing well, we're getting the ball, we've got that mixture of playing through the middle, but also that direct ball up top and feeding off the second balls. Score really early on. Casper Hogh, great cross from Arne Engels, who put on a masterclass all game, as you already touched on, but it's a great cross to the back post. He just has to nod it in. Killie had their moments. After we scored, they had a couple of moments where they could have equalised. Trusty cleared one off the line, and then Sinisalo knocked a couple wide as well. But after that, we settled, and we really had them on the back foot with the way that we were playing, and particularly the pressure that we were putting on them when they had the ball. Obviously, it took a little bit of time. We had a couple of chances. We could have been 2 or 3-0 up within the space of 10 minutes, but obviously Casper gets the second goal. It's a nice little flick around the corner. Basically, keeper can't get to it. And then from there, again, they really didn't have or weren't able to get a foothold in the game. They kept trying to play their way. We kept pressuring them. We kept winning the ball high up. They were playing square passes that were getting picked off very easy. Negrin was doing a good job of picking up those second balls that were coming in long. And the third goal, of course, obviously Duran gets the ball out wide. Again, not too dissimilar from the first goal, really, where he puts in the just this corner that takes out both the keeper and the defender, who's tracked back as well. And again, all Casper has to do is just knock it in. It was a really enjoyable first half of football, made all the more enjoyable by the boos that rung around Rugby Park when the whistle went.
The funny thing was that third goal, if you watch the replay, when they go the reverse angle and slow-mo, you'll watch their goalkeeper like he's swimming like that. You see that happen, and the ball goes up and over, and then the defender's like just watching the ball slow-mo, like, oh no, I can't get to it, I'm off balance, and then it's just bang.
3-0 did not reflect that game at all. Like, they could have easily had 2 themselves. We could have had 5 or 6.
The first half, Shane, no joke, could have seriously, if the score came in at half-time as 7-4, I would not have batted an eyelid. I'm like, yeah, that's legit, what it could have been. And then at the end of the game, like, by the time we get through it, if we had won like 11-5, I would have been like, yeah, fair enough. Like, the amount of saves their keeper made, I think he made like 11 saves or something like that.
Yeah, he shipped 5 goals but made 11 saves. That's remarkable.
And 3 went off the post and crossbar. So look at it that way. That's 14 possibilities. And we scored 5 goals that day. Ridiculous.
And the XG was like something like 5.5 or something like that. Like, when's the last time a Celtic team had an XG that high? Like, it's just, goodness me.
It's great to be alive and, watching Celtic play to our potential again. Like, funny how when you spend some money on quality players, I'm just going to go on this little tangent. You spend money on quality players, you actually get quality on the pitch. Like, let's be honest, that £2 million player or £3 million player now is absolute nothing. An £11 million player is the equivalent of us spending 6 million on Sutton and Hartson and those sort of guys back in Martin's first stint. That's the current level of that in terms of football inflation. So us spending 11 million on Engels, 11 million on who was it 7.5 or 8 million or something on Duran, that sort of thing. And then having Tierney back that we got on a free came home, but he got sold for 25 million. You've got AJ being linked with a 13 to 15 million pound move away. You've got Engels being linked with anywhere between 30 and 35 million pound move away. Like, we've got some quality in this team, but there's still massive holes there, which is the funny part.
There is, and I know you probably want to get to the comments in a second. I'm waffling on a bit, and I'll try and keep this brief. Absolutely, there's still concerns about the squad, right? We know that's not up to standard that we think it should be, and there's many holes we need to fill. But I guess what we've talked about a lot in seasons gone by is that yes, there are holes that need to be filled, and yes, it might not be where we need it to be, but that doesn't mean we don't have the quality to go and batter teams domestically. And we saw that yesterday, and this is the level we should be performing at domestically. I'm sure it won't always come to fruition. Teams will set up the blow block. It won't be as easy, but this is that kind of intensity and that kind of intuitiveness with the way we play. That should be what we're doing domestically each and every week.
Well, on that, Shane, let's be honest. Why are teams being more open against us this season?
Well, they probably think that they're a chance to get something after last season.
Exactly. And at the same point, you've got Hearts, you've got Hibs who are up and about and playing open, and you've got Rangers, right? So you've got those four teams. Everyone's thinking, we can take points off each other. So teams are going to be more open. Now, as the season goes on, teams will figure out and go, we don't want to get a 5-1 pump in here, so we'll sit back and try and snatch a point. And that's going to happen eventually. That's Scottish football for you. But yeah, it's good to see teams being a bit more open and playing, even though I think my 9-year-old niece probably had more tactical ability than, McCann did yesterday in that game. And I think she's played FIFA on the PlayStation like twice. So there you go. He is hopeless. Anyway, comments. Let's get to that. We got some comments here. So a few different song options for who. So Simon from Denny is saying, feeling partial to Spice Girls. Who do you think you are?
Best Spice Girls song. I'm just going to put on record right now. That is the best Spice Girls song.
I don't know. Because I kind of changed one of the wording on their first song. Yeah, that one goes, I really, really, really want Zigga Zigga or whatever it is. I changed it to, I really, really, really want Steven Seagal when I was drunk one night, and it stuck. And so that's up there. Anyway.
I'll never listen to that the same way now.
That's my drunken karaoke, everyone. So now that's in your brains. There you go. McLaughlin saying legend has it McInnes marched the Rangers team onto the coach in their full kits and headed back to Edinburgh raging. Simon for Denny saying I can feel a dip in Loch Lomond coming on. Is it Lomond or Lomond? I always get it wrong. Can someone educate me? McLaughlin, who let the Huns out? Who? Yeah, so there's a few of them.
We'll have to save that one for when he knocks him out of the cup.
Yeah. Well, tonight's pod, I named it like, was it who dropped points? Not us. I deliberately left it that one because I'm like, who dropped more points? I can always go to that later on when we beat them in the derby and who scores another hat trick. Then we've got that one up our sleeve as well. So we're good to go. So Gavi Boy saying, Sean said before the game, Martin still pick the team and play and talk to the team at the hotel. That's good to know. And Gavi's also saying, Kilmarnock, best surface in the division. Well, was that the second game on the grass? Or first game on it? So, yeah, the pitch did look pretty good. was up there with Motherwell. In my opinion, that's always the best one in the division, but it's right up there with it. Yeah, just a few comments here. Steve McGonigal saying Engels was top draw yesterday. He doesn't take any crap. Simon saying Engels looked really good, was on it from the get-go.
I know we've seen some stuff with Casper, and he's going to be tremendous, and I really like Duran. But for me, when he's at his best, Arne Engels is the best player in our squad by a long way.
Different gravy, I'll tell you that much. Andrew Galea, Duran is good. He's a good ad too. He's going to score heaps. McLaughlin saying, who Duran Nigren is 70 goals guaranteed.
Yeah.
Actually, the funny thing is,
67 to go.
I don't even think that's overdoing it. How many did you say, Shane?
67.
Keep going.
What have I missed?
Scored?
Oh, sorry.
Nigren scored.
66 to go. Sorry.
I was setting
65. God damn it.
Yeah, and Nigren scored last week too. So I was setting you up because you said 67, and I'm like, either he's going to wave his hands like a flog or he's going to figure out the maths here.
It's I haven't done my tax return yet, so good luck to me off that kind of indication.
I know why you haven't done your tax return, Shane. It's because you can't, not another penny thing's happening. You're not hanging out to buy Celtic merch. Andrew, get well soon, mate.
Yep. Here.
Yeah, so just having a look at a few other things here. Hey, McLaughlin, spot on. Could have been 12-1 yesterday. Gavy Boys saying Engels played with attitude. McLaughlin saying Forrest could have had a hat-trick. Yeah, forgot to mention that because we haven't even got to the second half yet. Yeah, the Killie goal was rotten. Let's be honest. It was pretty bad. So, Shane, do you want to give us a run in the second half?
Yeah, so we didn't play at exactly the same level. That same intensity, particularly the press, dropped off a little bit. They had a little bit of more control in the game. For me, the most important thing seeing out the second half, and we scored pretty early on in the second half too. Nigren made it 4-0, so it was unlikely that they were going to muster up any sort of comeback, but 4-0 most certainly put the result to bed. And again, it just comes from a mistake from the keeper. He's trying to play out. He plays a pass directly, basically to Nigren. All he has to do is basically take a touch and finish. Yeah, it was disappointing for them to score, and we were a bit all at 6s and 7s at the back, unfortunately. And unfortunately, Donovan overcommits when he goes to try and cut off the fullback, and he's able to sort of nick one in, pass Sinisalo, and it was a little bit of a pity because once we'd gone 4-0 up, for me, the main aim from here was keeping a clean sheet, and we weren't able to do it, which was a little bit frustrating. But look, Donovan, he's going to get a run at right back. We want to get some minutes into some of the younger lads. So, what a perfect opportunity! 4-0 up, away to Killie, get him in there. Get him some minutes, and look, he'll learn a lot from that experience. And yeah, obviously the cream on top of the cake was McCowan scoring. Just hooking it over him, basically over himself, essentially. It would have been a pen if he didn't score, I reckon, because he was getting absolutely scragged. To make it 5-1, which probably didn't do any sort of justice to what it could have been and the dominance we had, particularly in the first 45. But yeah, to walk away from Rugby Park 5-1 winners, you'd take that any day of the week. And yeah, the performance we saw overall, like I said, we weren't exactly at the same level in the second half as the first, which I think is completely understandable. Self-preservation comes into it. You've done what you needed to do to get the 3 points. You can take it a little bit easier. But we still scored 2 goals, and we were still threatening. Duran could have easily had a goal in that half as well. I was very impressive 90 minutes overall.
There's a comment here where I just wanted to bring up as well, which ties into that. So for Mark Duffy, he's saying we look like a team for the first time in a couple of years, and Killie didn't help themselves. The first part of that was spot on. Like, yeah, we look like a team. Like, didn't matter who came in. Like, when you have a look at it and you've got AJ comes off, you bring Donovan on. Yeah, he made a mistake. Should he probably be out on loan to make those mistakes for a different team this season? I thought he should have gone on that like Christie Aya sort of loan within Scotland. But at the same time, what are we going to do? If he goes on loan now and AJ is carrying something because he didn't really have a break this off season, are we going to play the bricky? The guy we would have signed, if we were to sell AJ, the guy we wanted to sign is going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks in a Rahau. So that pretty much rules him out. So right back position's one of those ones where I'd love to see Donovan come through, break through, and, get used to playing in the first team and get settled and get the development he needs. But, yeah, it's a tough ask being a young kid coming through at Celtic.
It is, but if we have and put on performances like we did yesterday, where we're able to effectively get the result or put the result to bed early on, there are going to be these opportunities where Donovan and the likes of Donovan can actually come on and play some minutes with that risk being further reduced. If the game's in the balance, obviously it's pretty unlikely unless there's an injury, because we want to make sure our best 11's out there to try and get those 3 points. But with yesterday, if we're able to play to that level and put teams to the sword really early on, it is actually inadvertently going to open up some opportunities for some of the younger lads to play and actually get minutes with the first team. So there's that added benefit of it too. You shouldn't rely on it. That shouldn't be what we sort of aim for, to get these guys up to speed. But it's an opportunity that opens up through just how well we're playing.
Thing is, Shane, we've had this conversation a few times in the past, and I agree with everything you just said. But do we have a coaching staff that's actually going to do that? Get us up 3-0 and then put a kid on, like we saw? Because if we have a guy doing that, like with Sean Maloney running the show yesterday, it made sense because he was our pathways manager last year. So he's wanting these young guys to progress through to the first team like he did back in the day. The issue is we haven't done it. We haven't done this in the past. Like a perfect example was Karamoko Dembele. The amount of times he's sitting on the bench back in the day, we're 3 or 4 up, and we just do not bring him on to get a run, even to get 15, 20 minutes into the legs. We don't do that. A club that did that exact same thing, Nestor Urinkunda, Socceroos player, when he was at Adelaide and he first broke in as a young kid, he played those minutes, like you're saying, Shane. Then the following year, he played more minutes and became a bit of a regular. He start some games off the bench, others. Third year was a regular starter, and then he got a move to to Bayern Munich, and then onwards and onwards from there, right? We can do this same sort of stuff at Celtic. Right now, Colby Donovan is in year 2. Last year he broke in. This year he needs to start trying to be that guy who's going to come in for a regular 15, 20 minutes, half hour here and there, start the odd league game, play a League Cup game, give AJ or whoever the starter is a break off the back of games in Europe. That sort of thing, right? And that will develop him. So it makes sense. We can do this. And we're in a good opportunity to do it if the coaching staff's willing to make that happen.
Such a really good comment about Sean, and obviously being the pathways manager as well, and just that connection he would have to the youth and wanting to see them excel. One of the big things coming into, obviously, when we play next is just whether we see a similar kind of style or whether we revert back to a little bit of what we saw against Dundee. That's going to be such an interesting watch come our cup fixture on the weekend.
Yep. So, do we have anything else to talk about from the game? Oh, the individual players. Is there anyone else you want to wax lyrical on, or have we pretty much done that game to death?
The only one I probably didn't talk about, which we should sort of mention, is Carter Vickers. I thought he was really good. He's working his way back into, obviously, playing regularly, of course, but he looked excellent yesterday. Again, sort of back to what we remember Cameron Carter Vickers to be, just that brick wall. And I'm liking so far the partnership with him and Trusty. I think, Team America, as they're called. And I think that partnership's worked out pretty well so far. I probably have Scales still ahead of Trusty. If Scales is ready to go, I'm bringing Scales back in ahead of Trusty. I think Scales and Carter Vickers are our 2 best centre-half pairings. But right now, Trusty and Carter Vickers are working very well together. And Carter Vickers was great yesterday.
Yep, I have to agree with that. It's good to see him back out there playing. I'm just checking something from the comments here. Celtic ready to sign Newcastle United staff to double transfer. Okay, looks like Nick Pope is a goalkeeper we're being linked with. The Pope at Celtic. Hey.
Those I tell you what, this will be the goalkeeper kick. The goalkeeper kit, pardon me, with Pope on the back is going to be the biggest test of the Celtic fan collective. Not another penny initiative that we have ever seen or have seen so far. I think that's gonna challenge a few people.
Imagine we get a Pope on the field at Ibrox.
Jeez, I would be.
The things you'd love to see.
Well, I hope that whatever happens for his sake.
McLaughlin, sorry.
No, you're right.
McLaughlin saying take number 11 off Duran and give it to Nick Pope too.
Well, I was just about to say, if it's at Ibrox, I hope it's. I hope we've got the whole. It's unlikely. I hope we've got the whole end, and his back's facing the Celtic end. If that ever happens at Ibrox, I'd fear for him if it was at the other end.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Brilliant. Had to jump on that. That ties us into the laughing at the Huns because it's what we got to do. Oh my God, these flogs. You know, Derek McInnes has not won a game outside of Edinburgh since I think it was February.
It's quite a while.
There you go. Some absolute crackers going on at the moment. Like, you know, the old Circle of Doom Rangers thing of where they are?
Yes.
So they had this, we're not far off with the right, Celtic win the league. So we're at stage 4 for them already. We're not far off with the right players, commence the rebuild, win the league in the summer. This is the spot we're at. Start season poorly. The next step on that is manager sacked. So I think McInnes has got till the first derby to sort some shit out there. Then new manager appointed, new manager's a genius, lose to Celtic again. They can't blame Tavin Goldson anymore, so we're going to have to update that one. But yeah, it's pretty funny like that. It's great to see those guys implode. They've weakened each other, the two Hun teams. You know, like get the manager across to one, from the diets to the full fat, and then bring their captain over, and then bring the little, you know, mosquito is what I'd refer to Cammy Devlin as. He just constantly just buzzing around and nipping at you.
Well, they signed so many players from Hearts that I was like, well, who are the diets now? Like, is that changing hands at all? I don't think it has, but for them to obviously it was good for them to drop points last week away at Tannadice, but yeah, to actually lose to Hibernian at home. Even after just equalising very late on, which it would have been interesting to see the crowd reaction if they'd been able to take just a point anyway, but to go on and lose it. And to see that ball just trickle past the keeper was just funny.
I have to just go back and check something here quickly, Shane, because if my memory's right, this is going to be absolutely hilarious. So if we go to Rangers' last few games, right? So they had a 1-1 draw against Dundee United. Asgard scored, right? Then they play against Jelenia Baileystock in the Europa League. This is the best part. They lose 2-1 in that game. 2 goals scored for Jelenia and an own goal. So they didn't score any of those goals. Then look at yesterday's result. They lose 2-1. And again, another own goal. So, own goals is their leading goal scorer at the moment, with 2 for the season. And then Asgard's in second with 1 goal.
Yeah, I forgot the midweek European result for them. Actually, I've glazed over that. It's quite bad. We talked last week about, and we gave our predictions. Look, I don't rate McInnes as a manager, so this isn't that surprising to me. And as I said to you last week, he's someone that I think is able to do well with teams that scrap hard, that have no expectations, he's able to elevate them to a level that maybe they couldn't get to with another manager. But he's at a club now where, there is genuine expectations, one day that may change, but there is still genuine expectations there, and obviously a fan base that demands success and a playing group that he should be getting success with. Let's be honest, he's not able to do it, and I don't think he is able to do it. But they went for Staunch over a good manager, and here they are. Sure, he wears brown brogues, but people doesn't matter anymore. The results aren't there. People are turning. Yeah, I think he's got until the first derby. If we scud them in that, he won't get beyond that result. Not at all.
The funny thing is, if you look at their usual process where they'd boot their coach after the first derby loss, right? Who would they bring in? That is the question here. Because I'm looking at, you've already gone super staunch here. And it's not working. So what are your options? Are you going to go full on the complete opposite, who you run out of town last year in Russell Martin? Or are you going to go super staunch in McInnes like you've done now? Or are you going to try and find another Danny Roll, who's more interested in making sure his wig's attached properly than actually coaching the team? What are you going to do there? Because if they go super staunch, does that mean they're bringing back Barry? That's the only logical step. Or do they go look at us and go, Martin O'Neill brought back a full one. Let's try and bring back Dick Advocaat and Graham Souness.
Graham, yep.
As a double act. Otherwise, the only option I've got for them, here you go, Robert Gibson in the comments is saying Ali McCoy's back from gardening leave. That's a good shout. The only one I was going to say is as long as they sack the coach and they don't bring in Kevin Muscat, they're okay.
I mean, you know, and we big up Muscat on this podcast a lot because we know his quality. We know what he's done as a gaffer. Genuinely would be concerned if he went there because he is the kind of galvanizing. He ticks a lot of boxes, but he's also the kind of galvanizing character as well that dressing room would probably benefit from. And he's tactically astute and he has the runs on the board. So, but yeah, I'm not sure that after the fact that he didn't get as far with them last time, that he's actually ever keen to put his hand up for them again, to be honest, mate.
Funny thing is, I just said that as a laugh because I know for a fact they can't afford him.
Oh, there you go. That's the other point as well.
With what he's earning in China and Japan as part of the City Group, they can't afford him. I know they've got deep pockets with their San Francisco, what is it, 49ers, Enterprises, Bollocks, whatever the fuck they called. But at the end of the day, it's not going to happen. Like, they have had two opportunities to bring him in and haven't done so. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. McLaughlin's got a comment here saying McCann's polishing his brogues as we speak. Gordon Flowers is saying Souness had the wads of dodgy cash then, not now. And McLaughlin saying he was spotted in Tesco. The question is it Tesco or Big Tesco he was spotted in?
Imagine McCann leaving one sinking ship for another. That'd be funny. But you're right about Russell Martin. They obviously went very much against the grain, as per usual. As they would normally go. Last season employing Russell Martin, that didn't work. That imploded very quickly. It got very ugly very quickly. So they've obviously tried to go down the staunch path again. They've kind of gone to two extremes. You've gone to the completely out of realms of normal kind of gaffer that Rangers would pick in Russell Martin. That didn't work. So they've gone, let's pick the most staunch person we can right now that we think can do the job, which really is Derek McInnes. When, you know, I don't want to give them advice, but they need to be looking at obviously the best available managers around the world and going, well, who can we bring in to kind of make sure that they're going to actually get it to the level that we need to play at? And I agree. For me, Muscat would probably do that. And you're right; they probably can't afford him anymore. I don't know who it is on the list.
That's a fair shout from Andrew Galea there. Craig Moore.
Is he doing any management work? He was director of football at Brisbane for a while, but I don't know if he's actually in the management circles anymore.
Yeah, if Muscat came in, and you got Craig Moore in helping him out, yeah, that would be a bit of a EBT Aussie dream team for the Huns. Yeah,
good shout.
So yeah, I'm just looking at it going, I don't really care what happens to them. Let them implode. Keep imploding. It's the funniest shit ever. I'm loving that our football team is enjoyable to watch. We're winning games in style. And, yeah, you've got these idiots over the road doing their thing as usual. It's great. It's making football fun again.
It's actually really interesting that comment that just McLaughlin put in regarding they employed a guy to do a meltdown over last season. I wonder if that did have any kind of, and I mean this in all seriousness, did this have any kind of bearing on their decision to appoint him? The fact that he was just raging and they're like, let's channel this, right? We think he's a suitable manager. He's an ex Rangers boy, and he'll be frothing at the bit to kind of basically undo the wrongs that he thinks happened. I wonder if that actually was genuinely factored in ahead of actually like, is he the most suitable person to take this job?
I think they factored it off that, Shane, in the whole regard of, batten down the hatches, us against the world sort of thing, with what happened to him last season, and it was us. So they're going to feel ripped off. Hearts are going to feel ripped off. Merge it all together and go after the big bad wolf in the hoops. It's what they're acting, not realizing that, you've just hired a guy who's lucky to be the third best manager in the league most seasons. So, yeah, you basically lowered your standards to bring in someone who this is his dream job. Yeah.
Well, it's a race between him and McCann at the moment as to who gets sacked first. So watch this space.
Sack them both. There we go. Gabby boys coming through with the goods here. Fergie, Hahn, McCann, and Dodds, triple staunch, got them nowhere. Yeah. So what do we got here from Gordon? I'm really enjoying watching McInnes after these results. It's fascinating. Looks like he's ready to come bust. His post-match in the press conferences is going to sound weird. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. I actually find watching his post-match press conferences, I actually find that more enjoyable than watching our own shit on our Celtic YouTube channel sometimes, because it's like, what delusional crap is he going to say this time? What's he going to say so out of pocket? It's just going to make me just shake my head and think, thank God. If I thought I was like stupid or having a bad day, at least I'm not him. Makes me feel good about myself. Good for the self-esteem. It's good fun. Like watching that. So, yeah, we'll get into this quickly. There was a meeting minutes leaked, obviously. I think most people would have seen them from, I'm just trying to get it. I think it was the association had a meeting with Brian Wilson, Mark Hargraves, and a bunch of other people like George Campbell, Chris Mackay, Michael Nicholson. That's where the old weekend at Celtic Park with that we had as the Michael Nicholson as Bernie. That's our things day picture for today's pod. But they had a meeting and they were talking about different scenarios. So they had a transfer strategy and execution. They had a whole bunch of stuff on there. So, and what they're talking through, I can rattle through a bunch of it, but I'm pretty sure most people would have seen it. There was some absolutely ridiculous stuff. I'll just read through section by section, Shane, and then we'll just have a quick chat about them.
Yeah, go for it.
So, yeah, it was with selected delegates from affiliation member clubs. So the transfer strategy and execution. Recruitment led by the manager, board appoints with football identity in mind. Data-led process. Scouts and data analysts filter thousands of players to shortlist 6 to 12 months ahead of each window. We have a two-track strategy over 24-36 months. Compete in the Champions League and create Champions League quality players via the academy and development pathway. That's the first one I want to talk about. Exit clauses, speed deals. Without them, selling clubs, agents, and players' preferences will all add friction. The club does not give players exit clauses. That's after the Don Mackay stuff. Club acknowledged the last few windows have not executed well enough. Camilo Duran cited as an early positive from the new data-led approach. Supporters pushed back hard. Team on paper is worse than summer. Same mistakes repeated. Signings feel reactive, not proactive. Clubs' responses were targeting higher quality players who have more options, unlike the easier free transfers other clubs pursue. Nice little dig at the Huns. Current window, we're looking to augment the front line, centre midfield and left back are the live situations. and delegated authority is in place. So above a certain contract fee threshold, the CEO needs board sign off. So if we look at that, Shane, the two main talking points for me on there was talking about the 24-month thing, build a squad to compete in the Champions League and create Champions League quality players from the academy. Last one from the academy, Kieran Tierney, let's be honest. I honestly think the whole option of having the B team playing in the 5th tier is rubbish. If we had a squad being built, say the $3 million it costs to run the academy, if we just went and bought the 10 best up-and-coming players within Scotland's academy system for $300,000 a pop, put them into a team, and had like an actual club that we owned, whether it's in the League of Ireland or over in Europe somewhere, put them all there under a Celtic sort of coach. We tried this back in the day when Willie McStay was the coach, and put the players in and build it up and develop them that way. That would be more beneficial than what we're getting out of the academy at the moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point because I think if you unpack that further, it's probably an ideal or a dream that us as supporters want, right, to become a reality. I just don't see it becoming a reality. So the hearing about this being sort of part of this long-term plan, or at least even the short-term plan, if you will, I just wonder how that actually happens, because I can't see how we get that level of quality academy players with the current system that we have. What are we doing to make that a reality? Let alone, like, it's one thing to aim for it, but what are we doing to actually make that a reality? Because it seems extremely far away.
Anytime we get a player of a required standard, they hit 16 years old and they sign elsewhere for cross-border fees and bugger all money. So to me, it doesn't make any sense to do that.
Yeah, so the obvious questions to unpack there are, what are we going to do to alter this? If there are this genuine level of academy talents coming through, what are we going to be doing to keeping them? How are we going to get the best out of them to ensure that eventually they hit that mark where they can contribute to the Celtic first team and they are those players that they're expecting them to be? I come away with that statement with far more questions than answers.
Same. And the other one for me that jumped out for me from that section was delegated authority in place above a certain contract fee threshold. The CEO needs board sign-off. It used to be $3 million. Anything above that, Nicholson would have to go to the board to get signed off. I understand it's because we're a PLC and you've got to declare things for shareholders and stuff like that. But if we've got 80-something million in the bank and the options are spend 40 million now, which you'll make back when if you were to sell AJ and Engels. You put that money into the team, so you qualify for the Champions League, and then you make 80 million in the Champions League, or 50, 60 million in the Champions League. You've made your money back anyway. So I think that thing is pretty fucking stupid, in my opinion. And Andrew's spot on here. Buyback clauses when we sell our young players is something we need to do.
Yeah, if we're going to be that club that you have talked about a lot, which is that that conveyor belt of talent coming in, next man steps up. Well, if we're going to sell these players, then have those sell-on clauses, right? So we see that benefit for being that kind of club.
You see that with clubs like Barcelona, Real Madrid, and then like the Milan clubs and stuff like that in Italy. They always do that. They're buying players. Perfect example was Alvaro Morata back in the day. I don't know if you remember what happened with him. He bounced between Real Madrid, across to Juve, back to Real Madrid, back to Juve, to Atletico Madrid, back to Juve, who then sold him to one of the Milan clubs, and he's bouncing back and forward the whole time because they constantly both have buyback clauses the whole way.
But the comment about the needing the CEO sign off of above a certain value, I mean, that sounds, just generally speaking, a little bit counterintuitive to the other comments about looking to sort of purchase players, not get them on a free, right? Well, if you're going to go down that path of making sure you get those quality players and you have to spend money on them, you kind of want to expedite that process. So I found that an interesting juxtaposition.
Well, the whole Sean Maloney thing I mentioned earlier in the pod about having a guy there who actually who was the pathways manager to try and bring these players through, that's maybe what we need.
Yeah. Well, if you are going to talk about sell-on clauses, don't follow the Brisbane Roars example with Lucas Harrington.
God. Everything is wrong with people who have played a bit of Football Manager I think they're smarter than their own fucking brains, yeah, honestly. Idiots.
I had to throw that in. Sorry, mate.
Bloody Caspers after. There you go. Andrew, I'm not sure. I know there was a Dutch club that was looking to buy Adelaide. I think it was FC20 was looking at buying into Adelaide. I don't know if Celtic was one of them. So that'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. So next section, Shane, is I'll skip this manager succession and Brendan Rodgers. They're basically saying Rodgers' departure was unplanned. Succession planning exists but couldn't anticipate his resignation. Yeah. Then supporters question whether clear succession plan exists if the current manager left. Club's response: a list of candidates is always maintained, but Martin was the number one target, and that was not a last-minute decision. And then it said the public statement on Rodgers' departure was initiated by Dermot Desmond. The board was made aware but did not collectively agree to it. Then why did it happen?
Yeah.
That's all I have to say. I know old news, but why did it happen?
That statement, despite all the time that's passed, that statement gets no less galling in terms of what was put out there, that absolute character assassination. But yeah, the comment about Martin being the number one target, I found pretty interesting. I'm just curious when they decided on that. You know, are we halfway through his second spell last season where they go, he's who we want to lead us forward? You know, or is this actually something that they've actually looked at another list and said, no, he's the best out of that list? I'm not here to denigrate Martin and his abilities and what he's done and everything he's achieved. He's a Celtic legend through and through, but I'm just curious if he is the top of that list. I'd be curious to see the other names on that list.
Neil Lennon.
Robbie Keane as well, probably.
Keane. There you go. So the next section was safety, security, fan incidents. We'll skip over all of that. Match day experience and ticketing, basically toilet facilities. They're talking about that, bus parking area, food options, price increases. They're talking about all this sort of stuff there. And they were talking about wanting to do like a ticket exchange sort of thing. So they're trying to work that out with their buses and stuff like that. It's a bit more complicated. Academy, B team, and long-term football development. Here was the other things that I wanted to talk about, Shane. Lowland League acknowledged as suboptimal for B team development, but currently the only pathway available. Club has been pushing since 2013 for B teams to progress further within the pyramid, including discussion of competing between League 2 and Lowland League. Cooperation agreements with Championship League 1, League 2 clubs now in place for young players to train at Celtic and play with partner clubs at the weekends. That's a good sign for me. That's better than playing in the Lowland League, so I'm actually a big fan of that idea. Development pathway restructured internally. Rather than separate 19s, they're layering development players and are now based closer to the first team at Lennoxtown. So they're bringing the under-19 squad up there. Then the first meeting with USFA executives expected to include at B team progression talks. Barrowfield and Lennoxtown over 25 million invested across the state in recent years. Lennoxtown is described as the best development facility in Scotland. If that's the case, I'd hate to see what other clubs have got. Barrowfield not being seeded. Adding seeding would have triggered stadium regulations, access road requirements and planning complexity. So that's why they didn't do it. I know they're saying the stadium needs a bunch of work. That's about it from that. So a few things there to unpack. Any of them that you want to talk about, Shane?
The under-19s one, it was interesting. That's probably the first thing I picked up on, and the fact that they're sort of going to be closer to the first team at Lennoxtown. That does sound like a good initiative to me. If you want to bridge that gap between your youth players and your development players, you want to get them as close to the first team as possible. So it's not all just about potentially going into the first team. It's about learning those habits. It's about learning from those first team peers. It's about being close to those who train the first team, right? And that experience and embedding yourself in that overall experience instead of being on the periphery. So I found that interesting, and that is a promising development.
It should have been happening years ago, Shane. Let's be honest. How are you going to learn how to become a professional footballer if you're not around at that age if you're not around professional footballers. If you're just around other 16, 17, 18-year-olds who are getting a bit of money, playing some football, you're not really going to develop. You're not going to learn what it takes to be professional in terms of preparation, the strength and conditioning you've got to do, post training, like stretching, icing, rehab, all that sort of stuff. You're going to learn that by being around full on professional footballers who've done that day in, day out, year in, year out, like your James Forrest, your Callum McGregors, those sort of guys. Seeing your Cameron Carter Vickers do that, that's where you're going to see. So it should have been happening a long time ago.
And the other point was obviously the sort of general consensus that you and I and pretty much everyone at Celtic Down Under, as well as obviously now the club, agree that the B team being in the Lowland League isn't giving them enough a challenge, isn't actually preparing them enough to make that next step. They use the term suboptimal. So we're all in agreement as a general consensus that this isn't the best way to actually maximize this talent and get them to learn. But obviously they're trying to push to get them up the pyramid a little bit further. It didn't seem to be any talk of, obviously, something that we've talked about a little bit, which was potentially a reserves league and so forth. It was more about how does the B team go up the pyramid instead.
The reserve league is going to be one of two things, Shane. Either it's going to have to be funded from the Champions League money or the European money that comes into the league, because you're going to have clubs there who are going to complain, why would I want to fund a reserve league team, which is going to cost us $1 million on the budget a year each, when I can spend that million and bring in like 3 or 4 first team players. So you're going to have clubs looking at it that way. So it's going to have to be funded by the kiddie companies, so they don't actually see the money that just gets paid for and it happens.
Yep.
Or the B teams need to go the way they do in Germany or they do in Spain, where you can play to one league below where your first team is, which is the Spain model, or you can be the one team below, 2 leagues below. So the maximum, if you're Bayern Munich, your B team can only play in the 3rd tier over there if you're in the top tier. In Spain, there was one a few years back where a team came second in the 2nd division, a B team did, but got relegated back to the 3rd tier in Spain because their first team got relegated from the top flight back to the B division, to the 2nd division. So there's different ways you can look at it and work on it that way. But yeah, one of those options has to happen.
Oh, we need to be in the what I'd call the league part of the pyramid, basically. So the obviously just below the championships, the League 1, League 2, we need to be in around that mark, I think, to get any sort of possible benefit from this B team and seeing this talent get maximised, right?
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see, just playing devil's advocate, how it would be received if the Celtic B team was relatively high up in the pyramid, and how that would be perceived externally. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I get the feeling the already strong, at times, anti-Celtic narrative would go into overdrive with the B team potentially being 1 or 2 tiers lower than the first team. But yeah, that's just me spitballing some potential feedback from external parties.
Well, I have a simple response to that, Shane. You don't like it? Be better. It's that simple. If you don't like that a Celtic B team could be in the 2nd division or in the Championship or League 1, and you're a team around that mark, and you think you should be in that league instead of a B team, then recruit better, coach better, develop your players better, win some more games, and be better than our team. Simple.
It would be interesting to see that actually unfold. I mean, we are obviously a Celtic Down Under podcast, so we're making it very Celtic-centric, of course, who thought. But it would be interesting to see how other clubs would react if the B team was higher up the pyramid. Not only would they have to up their game to make sure that they were obviously staying ahead of Celtic's B team, I think it's a good way for them to, a little bit of a litmus test, right? How do they go against the team of players that effectively could be coming into Celtic's first 11 if they play well, or are in and around that mark, right? Aiming for that mark. How do they front up against that? That the opposite to what I was saying before could be that other clubs embrace this challenge and go, how do we make sure that we're better than this B team? We don't want to be beaten by this B team. How do we get better? And what's the flow and effects of that? So very interesting situation would unfold if we did go up the pyramid.
Let's look at it this way. Imagine you've been a professional footballer in the top flight for the last 10 years. and then you do an ACL, you're in your 30s, and you're trying to hang on to your professional career. So you drop down a rung to the championship, and then you're playing against a team of 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids from Celtic, the B team, with a few of our other players rotating between the two teams because they are like we're using it as a full-on reserve. So say the Bricky's playing, comes down there to get some games into his legs or whatever. Or last season, Paolo Bernardo's playing down there, so he's actually playing some football, right? And you're that person trying to keep your career alive, and then you're like coming up against these young kids who are hungry and they want to basically beat you and take your spot and go and have that long career. That could go really badly. That's where you'll see the old, leg breaker tackles come flying in and stuff like that, especially if you're of a certain persuasion. If you have a blue nose on your face, So it could get pretty bad in that regard. But if they've got the same opportunities for, Rangers B, Hearts B, Hibs B, whoever else wants to come in and do it, then so be it. I think though there's probably 5, 6 teams that could have a B team that actually would, and that's about it. And that'd be Aberdeen, the 2 Edinburgh clubs, the 2 Glasgow clubs, and then the other one,
Motherwell.
I was going to say would probably be Motherwell. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Get some comments up, and then we'll start wrapping it up. So Robert Gibson, juxtaposition is the word of the day.
Thank you.
McLaughlin is, if we get another 10 million signings after Hassan, I'll be very happy. And then he goes, I've always wanted us to just go and buy 4 or 5 players at 10 million. That'll get us in the Champions League. You'll make 60 back, so the club's ahead anyway. And yeah, you're right in this follow-up comment. It's better than 9 bits of shit at 3, 4, 5, 6 million. Yeah. Andrew's saying a season of A-League wouldn't hurt B-team graduates. The problem with the A-League, to do that, is you're only allowed to fly foreigners. So if you were to bring one of the young kids out from the B team, they technically count as one of your imports.
It's also just so far away as well, right? I think that's the other thing we've got to factor in here. This is going well away from Scotland to Australia. It presents its own challenges from not just a playing point of view, but a social point of view as well for young men and women, of course, who play football to make that journey so young in their careers, right? So yeah, great idea. I love the idea. I'd love Celtic to actually have a club down here. But yeah, there's things that we need to work through with that.
Yep. Yeah, just looking at this comment from Andrew here, he's saying no one is going to let anything happen to help a dominant Celtic get stronger. And then we need club partnerships where you can send your B team graduates for a bridging season. A-League's perfect. That's what that Admira Wacker in Austria, I think it is, was supposed to be for us. We only ever sent like Toby Oluwayemi there for a couple of years. Matt Anderson went for a couple of seasons, and that was about it. And then Pete McGee saying the idea of top teams running a second string team in their leagues is nothing new in Europe. Yeah, exactly.
It's a good point. Like, as you talked about with the Bundesliga before and La Liga, this is something that some really good European leagues have done for quite a while. It's well and truly embedded there. It's understood. I don't know if it's fully appreciated by all the clubs, but people understand it and acknowledge it. We wouldn't be any different to that.
Well, the thing what they acknowledge and understand more than anything is these other clubs use it as a recruitment tool. Like, I don't know if you remember Supreet Singh, who played at Wellington Phoenix back in the day. And he got a move to the B team of Bayern Munich.
Yep.
And he went over there and he spent 2 seasons in Bayern's B team, and then he got a move to another 2 Bundesliga team in Germany because he did well in the 3rd tier of German football. They realised he's not good enough for the Bundesliga, but he's too good for the 3rd tier. So that basically put him in the shop window for those next 16 to 18 teams in the next tier up, going, there's a recruiter, a player we can bring in at a price that we can afford, and it helps strengthen opposition clubs that way, and it gets Bayern some money for financial fair play reasons. So it also works with your production line in that regard, and it strengthens the lower teams and it actually helps develop more players within your league as well.
Yep.
Gavi boy, how many teams does Bloom have? He has 4 that I'm aware of. He's got Brighton, Union St. Galois, and then owns just around the 24-25% mark at both Hearts and Melbourne Victory. Then we scroll down here. McLaughlin saying extend Division 3 to 16 with no relegation to Lowland League shite. I don't think the Lowland League teams would like that because there's a lot of junior clubs trying to work their way into the pyramid.
Mm.
And then Pete McGee saying those leagues that know that second string idea improves all their league divisions and helps their national sides too. Yep. So yeah, it's and Andrew saying Bundesliga 2 is a fantastic league. Everyone is on a budget, and that's the same sort of thing that can happen in Scotland. Say if you've got 4 or 5 or 6 B teams playing at like League 1 level or whatever, and the players are too good for that but not good enough to come and play for the parent clubs, then they can go back and play. Then they can go on those other moves, whether it's a loan to the championship or whether it's they get sold but then you get a buyback option. It's a good way to do it. And then Pegleg Lonergan saying the reserve league should just be brought back in the top tier. This nonsense is damaging the development of young Scottish players.
I mean, that's the other thing here is with the reserve league, it wouldn't just necessarily be Celtic. As you said, there's an opportunity for our Glaswegian rivals, but also the 2 Edinburgh clubs to have a team in the reserve league. The issue is filling it out to the point where it's a proper league instead of just 4 or 5 teams repeatedly playing each other. But I reckon you've mulled this idea over previously. If those 4 or 5 clubs actually took on the idea of funding it and saying we're just going to put the money in for this, right? We're gonna cover the majority of the costs. Then that might actually become a reality.
There's that option, or I've got another option for you. Cross-border league reserve thing. So I'm sure there's big clubs in some of the smaller leagues, like whether you're looking at Norway, Scandinavia, across that area, or you're looking at like League of Ireland, Welsh clubs, whatever, who want to have their teams play somewhere in a regular league. I'm sure you could pull together 10 teams or 12 teams and actually have a league, right? So if you were to do something like that, it could actually work because then you get some games in. But the reserve thing, the other thing you got to look at is clubs have got to realise it helps you put players in the shop window. Even if they're not playing in your first team, if you've got someone coming back from injury or someone who's not going to do it, but at least they're match fit and they're playing, you can at least get them playing some football so people can see some game time and go, oh yeah, I can see what they're about again and go from there.
Yep.
Anyway, I think we'll wrap the pod up there, Shane. We've been going a bit long there. I didn't think we'd go 20 minutes on that bit, but anyway, good fun. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. If you can do so, please hit like on the YouTube channel and on the podcast. Tell a friend about the pod. Get them to subscribe. We're trying to push on to get our subscribers up. Strange I've got a comment here. B teams in Spain, Germany, Belgium. Clearly Scotland knows best. 100%. We'll get a final thought and then we'll wrap it up, Shane.
Yeah, just wanted to say Vale to the late, great Glenn Hansard, lead singer of The Frames, tremendous Irish songwriter of a generation, really. He's a tremendous person, did a lot for homelessness in Dublin and in Ireland as a whole. Tremendous man, tremendous singer-songwriter. If you get a chance, chuck on a Glenn Hansard record, chuck on a Swell Season record or The Frames. Vale, you will be missed.
Fair enough. I will change what I was going to say because I don't want to end up with both of us doing that sort of thing.
Oh, you can if you want.
No.
You don't.
I'll go this one. Live music. Get out to your local live music venue. Can't go wrong with that. It's always a good night out. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Hail, hail, and we'll see you next week.
Hail, hail.